Hi everyone, it's Alia or Cake Legend, and in today's video we're going to be decorating this vintage piped buttercream floral princess cake. This is actually the cake I made myself for my 20th birthday, which is today. So I thought you guys might enjoy the video watching how I decorated my own birthday cake this year. At work, we're always given a free cake on our birthday, and of course I always decorate mine. And this year I actually didn't have a design in mind when I was going into it. So I kind of made it up along the way. First, I stacked my cake. If you guys watch my decorating tutorials, you know that this part usually isn't included in the videos, and that's mostly because the cakes are already stacked for me and all I have to do is the decorating. But today I was stacking my own birthday cake because I wanted it to be perfect. I am a chocolate dessert lover, so of course I had a chocolate cake, and for the filling I was debating on whether to do chocolate ganache and caramel or chocolate ganache with Bavarian cream, and as you can see I ended up going with the Bavarian cream. The ganache that we make at work is pretty soft, so in each filling layer I did the Bavarian cream on the bottom for stability, and then I did the chocolate ganache on top. If anyone that's watching this needs a little refresher on how to stack a cake, here it is. You slice up your cake into the layers, then you do a little dam of buttercream and put your filling in the middle. Then add the next cake layer on top and repeat. Once the cake was all stacked, I put it into the freezer to chill, and then I mixed up 2 shades of pink buttercream. I grabbed these 2 piping tips, the regular rose petal and then the small rose petal, and I started piping these buttercream florals. I am no expert on these. I believe I posted a small tutorial on TikTok sometime in 2021. But I rarely ever make these. If you guys would like to see a separate tutorial on what I can do when it comes to piped buttercream florals, let me know. But basically I just used the little thumbnail tool and pieces of parchment paper to pipe out all the florals, and then I put them onto this tray so that I could stick them in the freezer to harden. I made some big roses and some small roses and some little flowers that I just kind of made up on the spot. That was actually a repeating pattern throughout the decorating process of this cake. I was basically just making it up as I went along. Kind of like when I make our to-go cakes for the storefront. If you guys ever watch my unedited cake decorating videos, which I know a lot of you do, I'm also just kind of making up those designs as I go along. All within a similar scale of simplicity and style, but with my cake, I could go in any direction I wanted, and I actually did debate it for a few days. I was thinking, should I do a themed cake? Should I do a Disney themed cake? The Little Mermaid just came out, that would be fun. But I really couldn't think of a design in my head. I did a brief scan of my Pinterest baking board before I started decorating the cake, and nothing stuck out to me either, but I do really like the vintage piped cake style, and I love the cottagecore fairy princess aesthetic, so that's kind of what I was aiming for with this cake. I masked my cake in white buttercream, skipping the crumb coat as per usual. You guys know where to find that tutorial if you want it, in the top right hand corner. I made sure the cake had a really smooth finish on the top as well as the sides, and then I got started on the decorating. So first I grabbed a circle cutter and did that little trick where you make these little imprints along the sides of the cake to act as a guide for your piping, just so that I could make sure everything was even and symmetrical. Then I grabbed this Wilton leaf tip number 352 and some of my pink buttercream, put that into a piping bag, and then started with my first set of piping. This was basically just like a little ruffle along the guide that I just created, and it was done just by slowly moving my hand up and down as I went along the line, which you can kind of see here. Again, I'm going very slow and it's a little shaky at first because I was making this up as I was going along and I had never tried this before. But after the first curve, I quickly got into the groove of it and continued along the rest of the cake. After that, I grabbed a small round tip, Wilton's number 3, and then I piped another pattern just above the pink ruffles I just made. This was a typical bead border, like the kind of border you do around the base of the cake, but in a U shape, and I didn't have a guide. I was basically using the pink buttercream as my guide. And I repeated that around all the sides of the cake. Now again with the white buttercream, we have a small star tip, Wilton's number 17, and I piped a basic shell border right underneath the pink ruffles from before. After that, I piped white rosettes around the top where all the ends meet. Now back to that number 3 round tip, we're getting in real close with the other shade of pink buttercream, and I decided to pipe these little hearts and these little dots. I did some here underneath the white beads and above the pink ruffles, but then I do some more underneath the white shell border. Now we have an even smaller star tip, Wilton's number 16 Korea tip, and I decided to pipe these little swooshies. I don't know what to call these, but they're like the little shells that you do in a border, but not in a border. Now we have a bigger star tip. This one is similar to Wilton's number 2D tip, which is typically used for making rosettes on cupcakes, and I use this to pipe a big shell border around the base of my cake. After that, I went back in with the leaf tip and the pink buttercream from before, and I just piped a big long ruffle around the base on top of the shell border that I just did. And then after that, I piped another border on top of the pink in white once again. Going back to the extra small star tip, I did that border where it's like one swirl under and then one swirl over. You guys know what I mean? You can see one under, one over, one under, one over. And after that, I was done with the piping on the sides of the cake. Then I decided to do some writing on top, which I forgot to film, so you only get to see this last part. I did it with Wilton's tip number 2, which is an even smaller round tip, and then it was time to do the top. So I grabbed all my piped florals from the freezer, went back to that Wilton number 17 tip, and I piped a basic shell border along the top to begin. And all that was left to do was take those piped florals off of their parchment and place them on the cake however I saw fit. I had to place them really quickly because I couldn't hold them for very long, otherwise they'd melt in my hands. And I just decided to do like 3 little clusters, and then the rest were just kind of scattered around. And then I even decided to go back in with the Wilton number 17 star tip and do some small rosettes. I did them in white and the same baby pink that I used for the writing. For the finishing touch, I added some pearl sprinkles around the top, as you can see, going in with the tweezers, being very picky about the placement. And then this cake was all done. I was slowly falling in love with it as it came together, and just seeing it in the final shots was so fun. This is probably my favorite birthday cake that I've made up until this point, so let me know if you guys enjoyed it too by leaving a like and comment. Subscribe if you have not already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!